Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Iconic Shaman. This is Mobile Suit Gundam Journey to Jaburo, and what I'm going to be doing for you today is a new game plus speedrun of this game. Mobile Suit Gundam Journey to Jaburo was developed in the early 2000s, and it covers the first half of the original Mobile Suit Gundam series, the one Gundam responsible for all the Gundams we know today, such as Gundam Wing, Gundam Seed, G Gundam, Gundam Unicorn, Gundam 000, and the list goes on and on. Now this game's going to play very closely to Armored Core. My boy PMC Trilogy, who is very much into mech anime and all things mecha, is very well versed on this, and he would gladly be able to explain how this game plays and how Bandai treats very similar Gundam games of just the same way. For example, Encounters in Space plays like Zone of the Enders, and as I just mentioned, this plays like Armored Core, but I'm not really well versed in this, but what I am well versed in is the tech behind this game, because I've mostly developed most of the strats here, with a little bit of help from PMC as well. Together, the both of us took a game that was about a 30-minute time to 26 minutes, and both of us are within 5 seconds of each other as far as world record and PB. So there's a lot of optimization that has been put behind this game, and it happened all very much last year. Okay, so with that being said, and a little bit of background for this game, let's go ahead and get this run going. We're going to run New Game Plus because there's really no big difference between New Game Vanilla and New Game Plus, aside from one extra unit in New Game Plus that we'll see in the first mission, and an alternate path we could take in Mission 2, but we're not going to take for the purpose of speed. So, in 3, 2, 1, launch! Alrighty. So, a little bit of context. I'm not going to go into too many plot points of the original series, but there are some where context matters, such as this first mission, where we can only use the Beam Saber, and that's this cool, awesome sword in this giant fighting robot. If you're a fan of Megas XLR and you know the girls dig giant robots, or as they say, chicks dig giant robots, you're going to be in for some great action, especially when right away we're running in like an Ultra Chad and we're taking on 3 Zaku's with just one sword. And it's mostly because we're in a space colony in a timeline where the population and technology has become so advanced, Earth has become overcrowded, resources have been limited, so we expanded to space to save the planet. Alright, now that's not good that this Zaku started out of bounds like it did, but as you see, we're going to slash and hack right away like we're in a horror film, like our name was Jason Voorhees, to get these Zaku's down. Now, we could have skipped that first cutscene by going for this Zaku all the way on the left-hand side, but unfortunately, it does not save time to do so. And until we find a way to really optimize it, that's just the way it's going to be. Maybe that will come soon. I go after this Zaku on the right-hand side first because it is less docile compared to the one on the left. The one on the left that I'm fixing to face will always charge in with a melee, just like that. And it does not look like I'm going to get the optimal mission 1, which is to complete this in under 59 seconds. But what I can do is I can induce a dialogue skip, which I didn't get. Oh, wait, never mind, I can't, because I forgot the first part. Like I mentioned, you either need to go out of bounds or you need to take a certain path of a certain amount of damage to trigger another line from Amuro to cut the dialogue that plays at 59 seconds short. So because that first Zaku ended up going out of bounds, it took one option from me away immediately. But we're past the first mission, and we've got 8 more to go. So now we are on Earth for the rest of this, and we are being hounded by the Principality of Zeon, and I could split, couldn't I? And I did not. See, that's just kind of things you do when you're trying to make a submission. You just forget to split. But it's all good. We're rocking and we're rolling. We have our first weapon switch of the game. We can switch between the beam rifle, the hyper bazooka, and the Hyper Hammer. We're going to use the Hyper Bazooka for this mission explicitly because we're dealing with a lot of Magella units, and if you'll excuse me, there are times on the video where what happens, why the video drops so much with signal. What the game does, I don't understand why. It switches resolution so often. So it's at 480 and then sometimes it'll switch to 240. So while the game's just trying to figure out what frame rate to be at, we're having to figure out what's going on. So anyway, the Magella that you see here are part aircraft, part tank. So what we're doing is we're using the Hyper Bazooka's hitbox to take care of both the tank and the aircraft at the same time and get through the first part of the mission until we go into the hardest boss fight of the game, bar none. So I'm going to boost up right here. Doesn't look like I'm going to get it. Oh, I did. Very good. Alright, so the aircraft that's out in the front is piloted by one of the main antagonists of the series, which we'll go more into depth about later on you watch Gundam. I just wanted to make sure I went back to my days no scoping at Rust. I was able to get him very quickly, and what you just saw there, as I'm just quickly going through this, there's a lot of time where there's not really a lot of downtime, not really a lot of ways to explain the tech. What I just did there was a little trick involving the Hyper Bazooka. The hitbox of the special in particular is so massive that I can be just a little off of a Zaku and it will still connect. So it takes 3 specials to get Zaku's down, or in the case of what we just saw here with the main antagonist of Mobile Suit Gundam, Char Aznable, the Red Comet, the hitbox is so effective at dealing with enemies that it's really going to get us through the first parts of the game. So what we're doing here now is we're doing more of the same in Mission 3, except now we're exclusively dealing with Zaku's, and we do have one enemy aircraft that we need to take out. Now this is the first part of the game where instances of RNG can really hurt you, and this is where I mean significantly so. Outside of Ace Pilot's dodging, which we'll go more into a little bit later when it's appropriate, but as for right now, I'm going to focus and make sure I do this the exact right way that I need it to be done. So this first Zaku goes down. Now this is the one that's important. I need to make sure I get this second Zaku down quickly. And when I do, not only do I want to reset my specials to make sure I have plenty of ammo for the second wave coming, I don't want to leave this Zaku too quickly, because if I did, you'll notice on the bottom left I expanded my minimap so I know exactly where the next enemies are coming from. Had I done that part wrong, one of those dots would be right by the blue dots, which would be my allies. So I would have had to go chase that, and that would be instantly a 30 to 40 second time loss. So it would be really damaging. Alright, now I want to make sure I clear these two pretty efficiently. Looks like I fired a normal shot, not really good, but that's okay. And I did it again. That's fine. Cleared that pretty good. Those 2 Zakus go down. And now we're going to wait for the second encounter with Char. Where did he spawn? He spawned to the northwest. That's fine. So we know Char can spawn to the northwest or the northeast on this map. And so the northwest is faster, but the northeast is a little more consistent. And the reason the northwest is faster is because he's closer. However, you're now having to wait for your ammo to come back. And now I have to wait on him to determine where he's at. And I have to be careful with how I play this, because he has a Hyper Bazooka, so he's able to knock me back and stun lock me. But I got out of there relatively quickly. Not too bad, all things considered. So to go over Ace Pilot AI real quickly as I wait on Garma and this aircraft to come up. We know Ace Pilots do dodge our inputs on specials. We know they're reading them specifically. The reason the Hyper Bazooka is especially good at dealing with Ace Pilots in that respect is simply because, why did I just get hit by a beam out of nowhere? The hitbox is so massive, once again, that we are just able to take advantage of the properties of the shot. So as long as we're firing in a distance relative to where we're looking and they don't dodge the long way around, we're always going to connect. So now we go into mission 4, where the optimal way really to do this is with the beam rifle, but the Hyper Bazooka continues to be so good. It's the marathon safe. In fact, this is the runner safe way, really and truthfully, because my fastest time with this is with the beam rifle. So to go over a little bit of the advantages of the weapons in between while I have some time, the beam rifle is the most consistent, strongest weapon as far as DPS goes. However, the reason I don't consider it more fondly is because the special is wildly inconsistent. The hitbox is so precise and small that if the unit dodges, the shot is going to completely miss, and I don't want that to happen. So the Hyper Bazooka is way more consistent in that regard for just a little bit of less damage, but that's okay. So what I want to do here is I want to clear these 2 Zakus, the turrets, and the antenna here that you're going to see. So that Zaku goes down. It's really unlucky when the normal AI, the grunt AIs just block, but it's fine. It's fine. I know how to play my way around most of this. I didn't like to fire that shot, and I fired again, dude. That's not so good. Oh, that's okay though. Let's go ahead and get that down normal. The Vulcan guns, I should mention, are not really consistent for running this game. However, that's not what I wanted to do. We want to try to get these Zakus down in 2 specials, but sometimes the Magella tanks can get in the way and just say, you're not going to get to run this game fast. And that's on me. But to go back to where I was, the good thing about the Vulcan guns is that in some instances, like taking out turrets, taking out buildings, like you'll really see in the next mission, if you screw up with your ammo, the Vulcan guns can get you out of a situation. They're really the most ineffective weapon to use, but they do their fair bit of damage at some points, and they do have some uses, and they are safe if you manage to screw up somewhere along the way. So we got a good Ramba fight there by doing exactly what we were doing the past 2 to 3 missions, using again the Hyper Bazooka properties. And that really lets us get through, and I think that's really the last time we get to use the Hyper Bazooka until Mission 7, because these next 2 missions, we are now locked into using the beam rifle for no reason. No particular strong reason. And really, why am I saying it like that? I'm a little bit flustered. Let me explain that in a way that makes more sense. We're using the beam rifle because in the story at this point, we have abandoned our main battleship that we're a part of. We are now on our own because we're just like, everybody hates us for some reason. We're so strong. Everybody doubts our power. So we're just going to go out and take over the world by ourselves. So we take the beam rifle as our self-defense mechanism. So we got to go around and take out this mining base out all by ourselves because we think we're going to be big heroes at the end of the day. So I'm going around taking out these turrets, taking out these buildings. As you see right here, didn't get the optimal start with the other buildings. So what I'm doing with those buildings that are attached to those oil drums is I shoot the building because it takes out the oil drum as well, same way as the bazooka taking out the Magella, and it's faster. And I got through that second Zaku. The second Zaku is the toughest one to go through because of the bazooka. So what you'll see right here is for speed, I'm trying to go around, clear these turrets, and I want to make sure that I clear everything just efficiently enough that I have almost no ammo left as far as normal ammo goes. I want to be able to go into the next part with full normals, but I can still hang on to 2 specials because I only need 1 to hit for this next boss. Now, we don't entirely take out this boss right here. This is Makube in a flying Adzam, and as you see, we're clearly storming Area 51 with this, as that is clearly a UFO, and nobody told us that we were coming out here to clap some alien cheeks. So we're going to take out these 2 legs really quickly if I can get locked onto them. I have 16 shots. It takes 4 to take out the legs, so we're going to use a total of 13 shots. So I need to be able to keep mostly full ammo and not run off the ship as I almost did there. And I try not to take out all the turrets. I try to take out 3 legs because all we have to do is just touch the last one and keep everything rolling, as you just saw there. And we did a good job. A very, very good job of that mission, all things considered. Few hiccups, but not a big deal. We're rocking and we're rolling. As we go right into mission 6, where once again, we are stuck with the beam rifle. But it is one of the last times we're about to use the beam rifle, and to start, I'll be honest with you, the beam rifle is the optimal way to do it, but we like speed, we like consistency in our speed running. If I could run Hyper Bazooka for all 9 missions, I would, but the trade-off in the late game of the damage is just not worth it in the long run. So, this is the fastest mission in the game, aside from mission 1. All we're going to do here is we're going to land on this gallop, we're going to use it like a ramp, and we're going to shoot the battleship down, and it is clear and out of the way. Now we go to deal with Ramba once again for the second time. We're coming back, we're saving our friends, they're in trouble, they're being attacked. Now I'm going to call for support from our allies. We don't really mention calling for support from the allies very much, but in key instances like this one, they can be very helpful. And I'm hoping Kai does enough damage here where all I have to do is land 1 special, and that didn't happen. But I land 2, and that should get me out of this mission, because with the beam rifle, compared to the Hyper Bazooka, all I need are 2 specials, and the good thing that happened there is our mission operator did not get in the way. So a bad thing that can happen is our mission operator can talk over us while we have the final piece of dialogue play from Ramba, while we get enough damage down to him. If she does that, we risk losing about 20 seconds of time. But now we go on to mission 7, and this is the very early part of the late game that can determine whether you're going to have a phenomenal run or you're going to have a very bad run. We are dealing with 3 ace units at one time, and the optimal way of doing this is a super, super, super risky strat that I'm not going to go for safety. So what we're going to do here in this first part, if you'll notice to this point, I've been boosting forward. This is the one time we're actually going to change direction and go backward, because there are 2 enemy units to the front and 1 in the back. We want to go for the 1 in the back, and we want to inflict enough damage to this guy so that we go quickly to phase 2. And as you see, 2 specials, quickly get them down, and we're rocking and we're rolling. So now, the optimal way here would be to let these guys just carve through us and beat us up, because what we're fixing to learn here is that, let me see, can I get this guy like I want? Okay, 2 shots, and now I'm having to wait, so I guess I will take a little bit of damage here while I wait on the specials to refill, but I want to be careful about what kind of specials I take. And I want to be careful exactly how much health I'm putting in and what type of special I do take. That stab you just saw, that is one of the strongest melee specials in the game. That easily takes out half of your HP. That is a 1-hit kill if it hits. If it hits at a certain point. Like right now, I believe it will be a 1-hit kill. I want them to switch to their melee as much as I can. Okay, that one's down. So we want to go after this one. And what we have to do here, and our health is low enough, I need him to come out. There you go. Okay, that one's down. Alright, now, since I did get the strat here, I'm going to go over what happens. Alright, if I didn't get the strat all the way, then what would have happened, I'm going to go ahead and call Kai and Hayato for safety. What would have happened is, for every bit of health you are over when you take down one of the ace pilot units, for every bit of health you're over, an extra Zaku would spawn. So you're down to 6, you have a total of 6 Zakus that will spawn. But because all of them didn't spawn, I'm now at a point where all I have to do is get rid of the main 4 on the map and we're good to go. Now, of course, it cost me a little bit of time there because it wasn't exactly clean. It was a little sloppy, but if I would have had the extra spawns, I'm looking at about, if you're doing this optimally, a 1 to 2 minute time loss, depending on how much time it takes for you to get those units down. But now we go into Mission 8, where we really figure out, dude, what were the developers doing? I don't want to switch weapons here. What am I doing? This is the last time we're going to use the beam rifle. That was the last time we used the hyper bazooka. Because I've gone over pretty well why we use the hyper bazooka and why it is optimal. We want to go with the beam rifle here because it is the safest, most consistent, and it just carves through these enemy units we're about to see, because now all of a sudden the game has decided to level up the competition we're getting as far as damage and as far as armor. Like, their defensive stats are better, their speed is better, their offensive firepower is better, so we need to match them in that regard. So this is going to be the kind of menial mission here. There's not really a lot going on. I'm trying not to overburn my verniers so much. And what you'll see here, these guys that are coming up, they hurt a lot. So I'm trying to use the channel here as a way to give me extra cover, because if they fire their big weapons at me, I'm going to have a really rough go at it. So I want to make sure I'm safe. And he's still moving, not good. Oh, he's blocking. That was risky to do what I just did there. So these mobile suits right here, if you get within a certain range of them, their AI is automatically programmed to go for the first melee opportunity it can get. And in some instances, they will fire those beams at us. They hurt a lot. They are very annoying to deal with. I do not like them blocking as much. But the good thing about this mission, as long as I don't screw the rest of this thing up, and it looks like I will, because he's just not going down the way I want him to go down. I'm wasting a lot of time here. Let's see how this goes. Alright, he's down. Good. Now let's see how this next part goes, because this next part is quite important as far as this game goes. And it just goes, this game, again, just goes to show you the value in quote-unquote good programming, and I use that term loosely. So I start with a guard out here in this second part, because this guy, this is a Gok, it always, without fail, likes to fire beams immediately at us, which is completely rude, so we always have to be on our guard. We want to use 2 specials and a normal, and the melee was good there. Not so much the fact that it ate an extra shot, or I felt it ate an extra shot, or maybe it just didn't, I don't know. Either way, those 2 the Goks are the most aggressive, while I can go right after the big guy right here, and this is where I will fire the Vulcans, because I'm waiting for my ammo to come back. He's coming back toward me. He's not really going to do a lot of damage. He's very docile compared to the buddies that tried to kill us in the first part. He goes down, and now we go after this guy. We're going to wait for our specials to come back, just to confirm. There's 1, there's 2, and boom. That should be mission over. And we're right on to the final mission into Jaburo. But wait! What's this? We're still in the game! Why are we still in the game? Well, you see, friends, what's happened here is, for some reason, we don't understand what's happened here, but there's this sort of weird time floor where, even though we've defeated all the enemies, we've technically cleared the stage, the game doesn't recognize that until we get to 3:05 in-game time, and it just goes, oh, there's no more enemies here. Okay, sorry to keep you waiting. Let's go to Jaburo. And we don't know exactly what's doing it or why it just does that. But it's pretty consistent from platform to platform. And now we go to the one weapon we haven't mentioned all along, the Hyper Hammer. You'll notice we didn't really mention anything about the Hyper Hammer until now. And that is because the Hyper Hammer used to be the optimal way. It was, at one point, the most consistent, easiest way for us to deal damage and get through a run cleanly. But with the advancements that we made, and mostly me, as figured out as somebody who played this game quite extensively as a young lad, the beam rifle I figured out is pretty good, and I was able to unlock the way you can just viably use the special attacks. So a lot of the run that was Hyper Hammer friendly became beam rifle and hyper bazooka friendly. And if you'll excuse me here, I'm going to call for my supports. I don't think they really do anything, but I do like calling them. I think they have some sort of placebo effect with me anyway. They're firing at absolutely nothing, but it feels like them firing does more damage to these Zaku's. As you'll notice right here, the one downfall of this Hyper Hammer is the fact that these guys are starting out of bounds. So if they reach to the furthest part of the map in the back, I can't really hit them with the Hyper Hammer. However, the Hyper Hammer remains the most consistent way to deal damage to these guys, because the specials with the beam rifle we're on a ramp, so we're at a slope and it's going uphill. So the specials in particular are very, very unreliable. And if you'll notice, again, the beam rifle and the hyper bazooka all had ammo, whereas the Hyper Hammer is a melee weapon with reach and does not require ammo. So that makes the Hyper Hammer a very, very potent, reliable, consistent way to deal damage. Now what I'm going to do here, and this is a real big shame why the Hyper Hammer is not so frequently used, I'm trying to do a bit of an animation cancel here. So what the game does is, when you throw your Hyper Hammer normally, you have to wait for it to come back. However, if you are moving and strafing at the same time as you're throwing the hammer, you can immediately reverse direction and strafe the other way, and the game will think the hammer is already back with you, so you skip the animation and you get back to the part where you can just throw the hammer at will. Now, of course, even though I'm at a shorter distance, if I stood still, you would have to wait on that hammer to come back, and I might show that off here on this next act guy. Ah! Don't do that to me. So I'll have to wait just like that, whereas if I strafe and move, I can now connect with more consistent damage and more consistent hits. So now we've run into Char for the last time, where we have 2 major boss battles, but this is separated into 4 phases, and I don't know why the third one exists. But the second one, this is Char for the last time. He's very fast, he's very scary, he packs a punch. I really hope we get good Char. So what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to try to get on the side of him, or I'm going to try to get behind him. I really didn't want him to land in there, because Char will like to dodge on purpose. Whereas if I stay to the back of him or to the side of him, that was actually a good fight there. If I stay to the side of him or to the back of him, I now won't have to deal with beams flying in my face or him just charge meleeing into me at will. So one fault of the game as far as the enemy AI goes that I didn't really go over as well, because it's not really important until now. When you are directly behind enemy AI, the game wants to try to turn those enemy AI directly around to you, whether they boost to you or turn around themselves. And that's what's really going to help with this guy right here, the Zok. He's big, he's fast, he's powerful. He is a monster compared to previous iterations of him in the Federation vs. Zeon or Gundam vs. Zeta Gundam series. And he's just, you know, really, this guy in general as the final boss, he is a fitting final boss because he's so massive compared to how he's portrayed in the actual series. If I stay in front of him, he will fire beams like crazy, and then he tries to move around. So what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to hit him from the sides and from the back and get him down optimally using the animation cancels. And that was pretty good. So now we have to wait for him to go down in a smoking blaze of glory as we have survived our journey to Jaburo. That is time, and that is actually a very strong run. If I put my estimate at 32 minutes, 28 minutes for a marathon run would actually be really fairly strong. So if I were to have this happen in a marathon, I would be very happy with this run.
With you aboard, the white base
wasn't exactly quite clean, but it was pretty good. And pretty good is pretty good. Pretty good, well, let me rephrase that. Pretty good is pretty great for a marathon. And the fact that I did it deathless is great, because had I would have died during this run at all, you would have had to replay the whole mission, which in some sections can cost you 3 to 5 minutes of time. So assuming deathless, assuming you don't screw up any of the major strats, assuming you do suboptimal, or mostly optimal, not suboptimal, but mostly optimal, you can get a sub 30-minute run. And I feel comfortable submitting this as a 33 minute time, because I've been to the point where I can consistently get under 30 minutes, provided I don't take too many deaths. But that is Mobile Suit Gundam Journey to Jaburo. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something, and I hope you enjoyed it. My name is Iconic Shaman, and once again, thank you for watching.